Shedeur Sanders. As a veteran, what's impressed you the most on how he's approached the game?
All the time he takes, showing up early. Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and almost every morning you see him in there, talking through plays, talking through schemes with coach, and making sure that he's ready for his moment when he gets called up. And I appreciate that level of maturity and attention to detail.
What did you think about the news today about Joe Flacco getting traded to Cincinnati?
Oh, Joe Flacco getting traded, he was definitely somebody I leaned on for wisdom, and I feel like he helped me a lot. He helped me a lot while my time being here in Cleveland and his time being here in Cleveland. So now, everybody has their own destinies and have their own plans they have in life, so I'm just happy for him.
Have you talked to him yet?
Yeah, I seen him in the facility. I seen him.
Before or after the news?
After, for sure. Yeah, and then he told me, I'm like, dang, that happened quick. Like, that was crazy.
What's your thoughts, and what does this mean for Shedeur Sanders now as he is elevated on the depth chart?
Yeah. Well, the first thing it means, he one play away. One play away, one bad game away, one decision away from getting into actual NFL, in the actual NFL regular season game where it means something. And then two, what it says to me is that this was all semantics with Joe Flacco being the second string quarterback. Because if you have Shedeur Sanders on the third string, and this is something that came to my mind, fellas, if you had him as your third string quarterback, why wouldn't he be up for a trade to go to the Cleveland Browns? To try to the Cincinnati Bengals, to try to get to that quarterback spot and try to become a second string guy. Here is my issue with how Cleveland has played this. And the one issue that I have is Cleveland played this like the media. They didn't play this like a real football team. Shedeur Sanders, like you alluded to, S.A., should have been the second string quarterback once Joe Flacco was removed from the starting job. And let me say this as well. Dylan Gabriel looked good. Dylan Gabriel was really solid against the Minnesota Vikings. And now you have an opportunity to go forward with him based off of the first week of him playing to see if he's the guy. But Shedeur Sanders should have been in that position. It goes back to what I talked about in the preseason. It goes back to what I talked about early in the regular season. He should have been in getting reps and preparing like the guy that's going to have to come into the game if something goes awry in the quarterback room, in the quarterback situation. So I think this is great, obviously, for Shedeur to be the number 2 guy because, like I said, he's one play away. But this whole thing about moving Joe Flacco after you removed him as a starter to number 2 and keeping Shedeur at number 3, and now Joe Flacco is traded, you promote him to number 2, should have been there all along. Should have had this opportunity to be preparing like he was going to play in games. And for anybody that doesn't know football, you prepare as the number 2 guy to play. You prepare because, like I said, you're one play away. That your week goes as preparation. You have to be in the mindset that I'm gonna have to go in the game and play. I'm happy for him. I just hate that we had to go through the semantics.
When the Cleveland Browns traded veteran quarterback Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals, it was supposed to mark a fresh start, a clean slate for the franchise, and a chance for Shedeur Sanders, the flashy rookie from Colorado, to finally rise up the ranks. Instead, the move has done the opposite. It's exposed the growing tension quietly brewing inside the Browns facility in Berea. Despite Flacco's exit, head coach Kevin Stefanski still refuses to name Shedeur as the backup behind rookie starter Dylan Gabriel, leaving fans, analysts, and even players baffled. For a city that's been promised a new era of Browns football, this indecision feels like the same old Cleveland drama. And for Shedeur, it's starting to look like a patience test gone too far. When the Flacco trade news hit, everyone assumed the depth chart would fall into place. Gabriel as QB1, Shedeur as QB2, simple, logical. But during Wednesday's press conference, Stefanski's response felt like a bucket of cold water. The Joe trade took us by surprise, he said in his usual calm, guarded tone. That was not something we saw coming, still working through all roster things. Fans didn't hear reassurance, they heard hesitation. Stefanski's vague words weren't just about roster management, they hinted at deeper issues. Control, development, maybe even doubt. I always have to be mindful of our players and their development, he added. With young players, I'm always thinking long-term about decisions like the one we made with Deion. Translation: don't expect clarity anytime soon. That hesitation cracked the door open for another contender, Bailey Zapp, the former Patriots starter now sitting on Cleveland's practice squad. Stefanski even referred to him as the elder statesman of the group, a small but stinging comment that only intensified fan frustration. Everyone in Cleveland can feel it. Shedeur's time should be now, but something or someone is holding him back. To his credit, Shedeur Sanders has done everything right. He's stayed professional, worked relentlessly, and kept his head down even as the noise around him grows louder. Teammates talk about his obsession with improvement. First on the field, last to leave, watching film deep into the night. Coaches praise his discipline and maturity. Yet every week his name still sits third on the depth chart. And this isn't a player unaccustomed to pressure. At Colorado, Shedeur thrived under it. Cameras followed his every move. His father, Deion Coach Prime Sanders, turned Boulder into a spectacle, and Shedeur became its face, a mix of confidence, charisma, and control. Now, that same quarterback stands on the Browns' sideline, helmet in hand, watching others take the snaps he believes he's earned. When reporters asked about his status last week, Shedeur didn't even answer. He just smiled, shook his head, and walked away. A silent gesture that said everything words couldn't. And when Flacco was traded, Shedeur's response. When Joe Flacco was traded to the Bengals, Shedeur Sanders handled it with total class. "I'm just happy for him," he said. No bitterness, no shade, just calm professionalism. But let's be honest, behind that composure, he's feeling the weight of waiting. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has built a reputation for being cautious, sometimes too cautious. And this time, that could backfire. His logic is fine on paper. Both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are rookies still learning the speed and chaos of the NFL. Rushing them could hurt their long-term growth. But Cleveland isn't a patient city. Fans have heard development year one too many times. And when your team sits at 1-4, patience starts sounding like an excuse. What makes Stefanski's hesitation harder to justify is that Shedeur's already shown NFL-level flashes, poise in the pocket, precision on the move, and a calmness you don't usually see in rookies. Even analysts are calling it out. Former NFL QB Dan Orlovsky said on ESPN's Get Up, if Shedeur Sanders was drafted by another team, like Atlanta or Vegas, he'd already be getting real snaps. The Browns are babying a guy who doesn't need training wheels, and that might be the real issue. Stefanski's ultra-controlled, risk-averse system doesn't exactly fit Shedeur's bold, confident personality. The Browns' offense, built around safe reads and short throws, feels like a cage for a quarterback built for the spotlight. Let's rewind for context. Before the trade, Flacco's numbers were brutal. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 1-3 record. His arm looked tired, his leadership flat. Cleveland needed a spark. So Stefanski gave the keys to Dillon Gabriel, the rookie from Oklahoma. Gabriel started strong, tossing 2 touchdowns in his debut versus Minnesota. But the Browns still lost 21-7, sinking deeper into the AFC North basement. Flacco's frustration boiled over. Cameras caught him slamming his helmet, arguing with coaches, clearly done. A week later, he was gone. Now Cleveland's left with a rookie starter, an overlooked third stringer, and a practice squad veteran. A recipe for chaos. Publicly, players toe the line. Privately, there's buzz. Some veterans believe Shedeur could jolt the offense to life. Others worry about politics. That Stefanski's clinging to structure and control in the season is slipping away. One insider told ESPN, "There's a lot of respect for Shedeur in that locker room. Guys see how hard he works. He's not just Coach Prime's son or a social media name. He's serious, but the staff's cautious, maybe too cautious. That's the tug of war in Cleveland right now. Talent versus timing, risk versus reward. And with every loss, pressure builds on Stefanski. The Browns fan base has lived this story for decades. High hopes, slow starts, quarterback drama. If Gabriel stumbles again against the Steelers this weekend, the chants will start, play Shedeur. Because this isn't just about a backup job anymore. It's about direction. Does Cleveland believe in Shedeur Sanders as the future? Or is he just another name waiting for his shot? The comparisons to Deion Sanders are inevitable. Coach Prime raised his son to think like a CEO. Confident, composed, and unbothered. That mindset worked in Boulder, where Shedeur was the face of a movement. But in the NFL, flash means nothing. it's results that matter, and patience is rarely rewarded. Still, through all the waiting, Shedeur stayed silent. No complaints, no trade demands, no public frustration. That restraint might be his greatest strength. The Browns' quarterback carousel has been spinning for decades. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco. Now it's down to 2 rookies, Gabriel the safe choice, and Shedeur, the future waiting to happen. The Flacco trade was supposed to simplify everything. Instead, it's exposed an identity crisis. The Browns have the talent, the tools, and maybe even the next star. But do they have the guts to unleash him? If history's taught Cleveland anything, it's this: fortune favors the bold. And if Stefanski truly believes in developing players, maybe it's time to develop Shedeur Sanders, not behind a clipboard, but under the lights where legacies are born. For now, Shedeur waits. Helmet polished, playbook memorized, eyes locked on the field. And when that headset finally crackles and Stefanski says, "Shedeur, you're up," Cleveland might finally see what the rest of the football world already suspects. The kid's ready.